A tēnā tātou, kei ngā maunga whakahi, kei ngā aua whakatere tātou, kua whakawhiti nei tēnā no tātou katoa. Ki ngā mate, kai te tautoko ngā mihi ki ngā mate, no reira ngā mate haere, ki tērā wāhi i whakarere ai te kaihana mo tātou. Ka nui tēnā ki a koutou, te arawa i whakarangatira au mātou i tēnei wā, tēnei te mihi ki a koutou. E honore nui ki te haramai wainga nui a koutou, ki te tautoko tēnei kaupapa, tino a ātāhui tēnei rā, no reira tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā no tātou katoa. Lovely to be here. And, geez, big crowd here today, and it's only right, I suppose, that we acknowledge a few people here, as our previous minister did. And first and foremost, I have to acknowledge the MP for the Waiariki, Rawiri Waititi. Good to see you, brother. And Megan gives all her aroha, she didn't mean to miss you. I said to my table, watch out, I'll get up and do a haka, but I want to acknowledge the brother here, Whanonga here, for his horrible texts to me during the week in Parliament and being a pain in the butt, basically. But no, he's done a terrific, seriously, he's done a terrific job for Waiariki. We have to give credit where credit's due. And he's always advocating the kaupapa, and we have a lot of fun in the house, eh? So, umai te paki for Rawiri. I want to acknowledge also my brother Tamati over here, Tamati Coffey, who's finishing his term this year. You know, he should have been the MP for the Waiariki, but I want to say seriously though, I'm really proud of his mahi, as Rawiri is in terms of advocating for our people, particularly in the housing space. It's been a major kaupapa for Tamati, and thank you, Tamati, from me, from our Māori caucus, and from, I think, the people here for your wonderful mahi. Also today, we've got Tama Pōtaka from the National Party. As you can see, he's a very lonely, sort of miserable individual. On his own, you know. Well, I know what you're laughing at, it's true. And he's over there, you know, we look after him, you know, all the Māoris, you know, because it's a sad state of affairs in the National Party, you know. But Tama, you know, he was a wonderful lawyer, you know, and he's a politician now. So, but I want to mihi to you, brother. Good to see you here, and we're not looking at all forward to your speech later on. Also, to my tuahine and whanaunga Marama Davidson, lovely to have her here, and I'm sure you heard her this morning. She was so pleased that Stuart Nash got into the news a day or two ago. And she will apologise one day, but not to a certain group. But lovely to have my whanaunga here also. And before I finish, and I've sort of changed the speech today a little bit at the start, because Annette Sykes came up to me and said, I want a copy of your speech because I'm going to give you the boot tonight in the after dinner. So I thought, bugger you, Annette, I might just change the whole bloody speech. But good to see her, though. God. It's a bit like Rawiri, you know, they're in your and she's a whanaunga to my wife too. But anyway, I'm sure you'll enjoy her dinner speech tonight with regards to Māori housing. But finally, I do want to thank the Minister. I want to thank Megan Woods, because, you know, a lot of you didn't think any Pākehā could roll out by Māori for Māori kaupapa, did you? If you listen to Rawiri, oh no, they couldn't. But they can. And you heard her kōrero today. And that's what it is for us, is about utilising the system so we can get the best outputs. And so some of us have made that decision to get within a mainstream setup so we can get with Pākehā politicians like Megan Woods, who's my old mate. We used to be in the Alliance. Her and I were in the Alliance many years ago, and I'm proud to work alongside her as our lead. She's our main Minister for Housing. And it's really good Pākehā talking about by Māori, for Māori solutions. Strategically, it works. I tell you, maybe we need some of them on co-governance too, but that's another story. And we're not talking co-governance today. You know, when I think of Māori in terms of housing, I do think of our karaua, Tā Toby, who, you know, was a great advocate in that area. He was a teacher, innovator, leader. and his story, his upbringing is well known, I think, to everyone. Tātobi Curtis. He lived in Rotomā in a public works house, if we call it that, and he described it as a collection of huts joined together. The house had no electricity, and Tātobi did his homework by candlelight. The next step for him, for the grower, was, and his whānau, was Mapauriki on Lake Rotoiti, a one-room building made up of a range of materials, corrugated iron and timber rescued from sites, and lumber felled in the bush by his father. Some of those buildings will stand today, showing the ability of Māori to build things with their own hands. You know, the story of Tātobi and his whānau is unique, but it is about whānau Māori who are still living rough, still facing challenges in te ao hurihuri, and we are still building things with our own hands. The main difference, and you've heard it today, and you'll hear it from other speakers too, is that this is a government that understands that Māori have the solutions, and we are committed to rebuilding the system and resourcing Māori to provide resolutions in their own community. That's what Tātobi challenged people like myself, and I've known him. I knew him for many years because he was an uncle to my wife, great friends with our whānau. And that was always his challenge through the years, and it's a challenge that I always carry and front up to, and it's something that I think advocates have to address. We all know Māori have been let down by their housing system for decades. There are critical gaps for whānau Māori in the housing system. We're aiming to plug those gaps by changing the system and narrative, by partnering with iwi and Māori organisations and putting Māori at the heart of New Zealand's approach to housing. The Y2750 kaupapa, the Housing and Services Inquiry, is identifying the significant intergenerational impact of years of failure to meet the housing needs of whānau Māori. These impacts are familiar to Māori: the poor quality of existing Māori housing, lack of new housing supply, and whānau increasingly being priced out of home ownership or even rentals has been growing for years. We know this. We have seen racism firsthand. Māori have experienced it economically. I can go back to when my parents in the 60s were looking for rental accommodation, being shut out of rental accommodation. There have been obstacles that Māori have faced that other races and other whānau don't know about. This has been exacerbated, of course, by the housing shortage and the global pandemic. So the focus on Māori-led solutions is enabling Māori and the Crown to better identify needs at a local level and deliver housing solutions by taking a by Māori, for Māori approach. The steps on this journey have included He Whare Ahuru He Oranga Tangata, the Māori Housing Strategy 2014, which sought to enable a kaupapa Māori-led approach through the Māori Housing Network, managed by my agency Te Puni Kōkiri, to achieving positive Māori housing outcomes. The Mahi Framework for Action, which sets out the government's approach to be deliberate, to respond, review and reset the housing system to achieve equitable outcomes for Māori. We established the Mahi Whare Wānanga as a way for Crown officials and Māori to engage and monitor the progress, and the development of the new National Māori Housing Strategy, Maihi Kaora, followed by the implementation plan, which sits alongside the government policy statement, Housing and Urban Development, and will guide the system for another 30 years. You've heard about whai kāinga whai oranga, and I'm proud of that partnership, and it's the largest investment in terms of Māori housing in history. We're talking 730 million since budget 2021, and we've made significant inroads into speeding up the Māori-led housing supply. And that, for me, it was terrific to see my agency, Te Puni Kōkiri, working with our mainstream agencies. We set ambitious goals, to build 1,000 new homes, undertake repairs and maintenance to 700 homes, and provide infrastructure support for 2,700 homes. This year, we take the time to celebrate the success our partnerships have delivered and the targets we have reached. Of the 1,000 homes to be delivered, we have approved up to 1,003. Of the 700 homes for repairs and maintenance, we've approved up to 415. And of the 2,700 sites requiring infrastructure support, we have enabled up to 1,520. This is a great result for whānau who desperately need a home. Whai Kāinga Whai Oranga provides for immediate housing delivery and repairs, and more importantly, it will support Māori-led regional groups to scale up their housing delivery over the next 5 to 10 years. Māori were clear they wanted the government to create space for Māori. We've been saying this for years. You'll be saying this today. It's been happening. It happens at every hui I've been to in the last 40 years. I've been going to hui for a while. And I understand it. We understand it. We are listening. We need to be listening because our people are in a space where they're saying, we can do this. We just need the space. So Whai Kāinga Whai Oranga creates that space to allow Māori housing solutions. That's what we want, Māori housing solutions to thrive. Te Tuapapa Kura Kāinga and Te Puni Kōkiri collaborated to move at pace to invest in the pipeline of Māori-led developments and repairs and to address immediate need. In terms of iwi prototypes, the innovative commissioning is shifting the way, this innovative way of commissioning is shifting the way we look at Māori housing solutions. We're doing stuff that has never been done. Never been done. I don't even want to sort of be disrespectful to previous governments, but this iwi housing partnership kaupapa is working. You look at the 3 iwi prototypes that were signed with Kauru Ora Taranaki Iwi Collective, Jamie Tuto, who's sitting with us today. Fantastic in terms of the work Jamie and them are doing. Toi Tu Te Rāwhiti East Coast, Willie Te Aho over here. You all know Willie Te Aho? Do we all know Willie? Stand up, Willie. Stand up, Willie. Show everybody who you are. He's not going to stand up. I want to mihi to this fella, one of the greatest advocates for Māori in terms of housing you'll ever come across. Can be a bit like Rawiri sometimes, but, it's the whānau Apanui side, eh? But what an advocate for our people on the coast, you know. His saving grace, of course, is Annette Wehi, who is the good cop, bad cop partnership of the East Coast. They make things happen, and proud of his work. Not so sure of his emails, but proud of his work in terms of the mahi that he's doing for our people on the coast, Fantastic. Kahungunu, also mihi ana kia koutou, kei konei tēnei rā. Chrissy and them, are they all here? Oh, maybe not. But if if they were here, I would mihi to Kahungunu, and particularly our man Ngahiwi, Tō Moana, and of course, who started it, and then Baden, what's Baden's last name? I forgot Baden's. But God, I'm terrible, eh? Sorry, Baden. It's just that he's a member of the Maori Party, eh, Rawiri, and I always forget his blinking. They all are. Bloody Baden.
Welcome to our conference.
Shush. But Baden, I will say with Baden and Kahungunu, they're just terrific in terms of the work that's happening. Hard to follow on in the footsteps of Ngahiwi, 25 years as a chair, and just doing the business in terms of Kahungunu, challenging us, challenging me. That's what it's all about. And of course, in Northland Iwi Hapu Ahu Whenua Trust, we've got a 55 million prototype delivery model that will see 80 to 100 affordable rental homes and up to 110 infrastructure sites by 30th of June 2025. And of course, Pita Tipene driving that kaupapa up there. So our people are doing it. Our people are doing it, whether it's Willie or Jamie or Whare in Taranaki, Pita in the north, the foundation's been laid down. House by house, whānau by whānau, we're working together to address housing needs. Ngāti whakaue, we know what you're doing. Along with iwi across the country, you're walking the talk when tackling home ownership rates. For instance, a percentage of homes that Ngāti Whakaue bill will be sold to Ngāti Whakaue descendants. This could include close to 150 homes. This is a great result. This is what we're doing, looking after our people. It's an example of what partnership looks like with the government investing $55 million to fund the infrastructure towards the builds. This investment includes $35 million for improvements to State Highway 30, expected to be completed by mid-2023. The improvements through to Wharenui Road will address key transport constraints to future stages of Ngāti Whakaue Tribal Lands Wharenui Rise development. A further 20 million was committed to Rotorua Lakes Council for other enabling infrastructure for Wharenui Rise. This included 5 million for local roading improvements and 15 million for sewage and stormwater infrastructure. Also, new intergenerational housing project targeted at public and affordable housing, which will be built over 3 stages to be completed in the next 6 years. The Manawa Gardens development, located on 16 hectares of Māori titled land owned by Ngāti Whakaue tribal lands on Wharenui Road, close to the Wharenui Rise development. This exciting new development will provide a community-focused, environmentally friendly living space, obviously with affordable homes, but best of all, kaumātua housing for our people. The investment will result in the building of 1,100 new homes at Wharenui Rise, bringing much-needed housing to the whānau and communities of Ngāti Whakaue. We know that we cannot tackle the housing crisis alone. So I want to mihi to Ngāti Whakaue, and well done with your runner-up position. Tāmati told me to remind you of that. And, should have won it, eh? But well done, Ngāti Whakaue, in terms of what happened there. But you're an example of a great partnership and an example of what we're trying to do as a government in terms of tackling the housing crisis. I'm coming to the end, am I? Okay, well, that's a shame. But in terms of, I've just started, In terms of whenua Māori, this is a kaupapa we all talk about. We know that whānau Māori want to utilise their whenua to build homes. Our people have been advocating for years to reduce the legal, financial and other systemic barriers which has prevented this. As a government, we're working to unpack that. We've seen some of our mahi through turu whenua. We want our people to be able to use their whenua. In August this year, ministers came together to discuss how to work together collectively to address those barriers, working on options to reduce or remove barriers to finance and potentially create new vehicles for whānau to access finance to build on Māori freehold land. We know the barriers to building on whenua Māori are long-standing and complex, and solutions to address them will take some time, but the government is committed to working with iwi Māori. I want to thank Te Matapihi for their ongoing advocacy for these issues. And in terms of papakainga, finally, can I draw us to papakainga, because reconnecting whānau back to their tūranga waiwai and living in a kaupapa Māori way has been incredibly important, and we're seeing how that happens. We know that good quality housing is a key factor in the well-being of everyone, but papakainga strengthens our whānau in more ways than one. I want to thank TPK, because they've been leading this, a lot of the program across the motu to ensure whānau have good quality and housing that is dry and secure for whānau, and doing the work in terms of supporting mokopuna and families across the motu. Finally, I want to acknowledge the massive mahi that's gone into this conference. Thank you for this opportunity. It's good to, I suppose, remind people that, we are a government fixed on supporting by Māori for Māori solutions. We are a government also that inherited a housing crisis. Never forget that. We came off the back of a group of politicians who did not invest in Māori partnerships, who sold off state rentals, we inherited a crisis, but I think we're building the framework and building the support that our people need. Thank you very much. It's been an honour talking today. Tēnei te mihi kia koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā no tātou katoa.